As Russia faces more international pressure over its war in Ukraine, Moscow is now making a show of force by carrying out military drills in the Atlantic. Russian defense officials say their warships conducted exercises while en route to Cuba for an official visit. NBC News reporter Ed Augustin is live in Havana for me today. So, Ed, are there any nuclear weapons on board these warships? And what more can you tell us about these specific drills that are being conducted?
Ever since the Cuban government announced that the Russian flotilla would pull into Havana, they've been emphasizing that they will not be armed with any nuclear weapons. That's a long-standing Cuban policy, and also Cuba's a signatory of a nuclear non-proliferation treaty signed back in the 1960s that many countries in Latin America and the Caribbean signed, stating that there can be no nuclear weapons in the territory, particularly in Cuba. That was signed shortly after the Cuban Missile Crisis back in 1962. In terms of military drills, it's another story. The Russian Ministry of Defense released video of artillery fire that the flotilla had carried out on the Atlantic a few days before arriving, and that was a military drill. They were firing against the simulated air attack, and this morning, just hours before they pulled into Havana Bay, there was another military drill. This time, though, no artillery was fired. It was purely simulated on computers aboard some of the naval vessels.
You know, Ed, it's not lost on any of us that Havana is only a couple hundred miles from South Florida. What kind of message is this sending, especially as Russian President Putin continues to make threats against the U.S. and our NATO allies?
Cuba is so close to the United States that one woman a few years ago even swam from Cuba to Florida, really, really close, 90 miles away. And of course, this is happening in the midst of the war on Ukraine. And of course, that won't be lost on the Biden administration that says that it is deploying 3 destroyers to surveil and track this Russian deployment.
All right, NBC News reporter Ed Augustin live for us this afternoon. Ed, thank you.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news.